everyone, and welcome. I'm Rebecca Vieira, the coordinator of the Inter-American Teacher Education Network, or ITEN for short, an initiative of the Organization of American States. I'm pleased to welcome you all to this webinar, one in our series of webinars, COVID-19 Teaching STEM in Quarantine. Before continuing, I'd like to briefly introduce ITEN to those of you who are not familiar with us. The purpose of ITEN is to improve the quality and equity of education through teacher education across the Americas. To do so, we offer funds and activities for educational leaders with the intent to resolve problems of policy and practice related to STEM teacher education, in which STEM refers to science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. To learn more about us and how to get involved, please visit our website. We'll be sharing the link at the end of this presentation. Presented by ITEN project team participants, teacher fellows, and other network supporters, this series of webinars' objective is to support the efforts of teachers during this time of quarantine. To join future webinars, again, please visit our webpage. This afternoon, we're pleased to have a presentation from a panel of educators, including from across Jamaica, including Ms. Peta-Gay Kirby, who is an ITEN teacher fellow, and also Mrs. Megan Hylton, who is a counseling psychologist and recently published as an author of a parenting book, Directing Your Arrows, a strategic approach to successful parenting, which is available from Amazon. Typically, or we would have had the participation this evening of Mr. Wayne Thompson, but unfortunately he ran into a couple of issues making his way to be available for the webinar, so he won't be able to join us this afternoon. During the presentation, we welcome you to ask questions using the Q&A tool. Please do avoid writing your questions in the chat just because they tend to get lost among all of the messages and introductions of people that they post there. We'll actually have this presentation tonight in two parts. So first, we'll have the presentation from Ms. Peta-Gay Kirby, immediately followed by an opportunity to ask questions. After we've done that, we'll have a presentation from Mrs. Megan Hylton, again followed by questions and answers. So please do prepare to ask your questions by posting them in that Q&A tool. This webinar will be recorded, and that recording will be linked to the ITEN COVID-19 webinars webpage. In about 24 hours, you'll receive a notice that the recording is uploaded, so you should receive an email from us. And in that email, you'll also receive a notice serving as evidence of your attendance, should you need to show it to your administrators. Lastly, we'd like to express our gratitude to the Educational Portal of the Americas, which is providing support to transmit this presentation live via their Facebook page, and especially to our donor, the U.S. Mission to the OAS. At the conclusion of the webinar, please do not forget to complete a brief survey that will be helpful in determining future webinars. Again, thank you very much, and I will now pass the presentation over to our presenters.
Great afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Welcome, and my friend, my teammate, my colleague is here also, Megan Hylton. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon, and I do hope that you take away some gems and you're open to share and add to what we have discussed. Now, as we maneuver through this evolving landscape of teaching and learning, we need to seek to partner with the stakeholders towards a successful product. Now, I know we have been partnering, but there has to be more inclusiveness, and that's what drew my attention to this. One of the first tier of partners are the parents and the caregivers. And so an intentional inclusive structure to involve parents and the caregivers will relieve some of the tensions of the change management. And I believe it will make this new mission more possible. So for my segment, I'm going to be looking at just one aspect of partnership, that is the use of rubrics from as early as preschool to as far as you may go. And just the fact that its use can be simple, specific, in order to relay expectations to our parent partners and students for, to help them to develop in their skills and attitudes. That's what I like about the rubrics, because we can look at the skills and attitudes, not just the raw answer data, the numerical answer, or the missing word, or the inaccurate word. And this will work towards the development of success, our success as educators and their success as they learn. So join me as I go through some basic fundamentals with regards to rubrics. So I've called it Rubrics for Home Inclusive STEM Lessons. And over the years, I have been using rubrics. The rubrics were mainly for the students to use. I used to say to them, use this like a check-off to ensure that you are meeting all the expectations. But I would only use them for just a few things. And over time, I realized I could use it for presentations, verbal presentations, video presentations. I found rubrics where I was able to online host a discussion thread and look at who are the students that are responding, and then also encourage them to respond to others. As I dived more into it, the passion came because as a teacher, my friends will call me when they're having issues with the teachers that send their children to work during COVID. And I found a lot of parents of primary and early childhood not understanding the expectations. One example is a child was required to color something and was asked why. So she got her grade, but a friend colored the same thing and she used brighter colors than the friend, and the teacher was unable, and the parent was was dissatisfied. Why are you not able to tell me what exactly is missing? You can't just say it looks untidy. Is it that it came out of the line? Is it that you were expecting something? And this started to happen one too many times, where work was being uploaded on WhatsApp or on their platform, and unless it's mathematical or something with a particular word or answer, they would have gotten something to make and show in a picture or video, and they're not understanding, why am I not as successful as I thought? So that is where the journey began. So we're going to be looking at what is a rubric and how the rubric actually promotes thinking and learning. So a rubric is a STEM thing. That's how I see it. And how to now use it for partnership with the home. Remember, we have parents who are not trained educators that are expected to sit with the child while you send the work to help the child to get it done. And caregivers also do assist. So what is a rubric? I pulled from the reference you see there, benefits of rubric in online classes. It's an entire document. You can look it up. I just pulled 4 gems that captures the value and the essence of using rubrics for your online classes. So we know it is a scoring tool that it clarifies your expectation on an assignment. I want us to remember that in the classroom, when you set an assignment, students are free to ask, can you clarify? I don't understand. From my experience online, and not just my classes, I've sat with friends and watched their classes at a prep school, a primary. They are not, everyone is not asking, or not saying, I do not understand. So you may have taught your class and you have the assumption that they have clear understanding of your expectations, but they really didn't. Now, after that class, if for particular skills and expectations, you provide them with a simple rubric, not too verbose, not too wordy, especially for the age group and for the parents who are not teachers, so that they can both know after the class, look at it and say, oh, this is what Mrs. was saying, this is what Sir was saying. And I'm telling you, even up to in the high school, I found many of them not asking in the session, no matter I will have 10 minutes. I'm waiting, is there any more questions? No, this is pretty helpful. What it does is that it lays out specific criteria by which you can evaluate students and provide qualitative descriptions of different levels of success. Am I excellent? Am I intermediate? Do I need to work on it? A rubric then serves as a dual purpose in both articulating your expectations and laying out a scoring mechanism. So it gets your expectations out and you have easy numbers to work with. It takes a while to create one, but afterwards the marking is so much easier. And the feedback is excellent. It really, you can see growth from your feedback. Rubrics familiarize the students with the highest level of achievement. So guess what? When they get the rubric, they can say, this is where I want to be. If you have 4, 3, 2, 1, they're not going to look on 2, 3, 1, you know. They're going to look on 4 as the score and say, what do I do to get 4 out of 4 at this point? Next area. What do I now do to get 4 out of 4 in this area? And so you're training their thought process, training the growth in their skills will be developed, and they are learning to self-assess and to make better decisions with regards to how they do their assignment. So I have here, I picked it, I was gonna do one from scratch and I found an excellent presentation. So go with me with this. I love it, it's short, it's to the point. All right. So sharing again, I wasn't sure if you're seeing the website itself, so let's go into it by itself. There, we're loading. I will maximize the screen as soon as it's up. I like this presentation. I like simple and to the point. And so it's not about teaching you how to make the rubric from scratch. It's not a rubrics lesson, but really to help you to understand, because I believe that all of you who are here are actually teacher leaders. So I would like to arm you with tools that you can use and train other persons. It's loading. Giving it a couple seconds. If not, we will move on. Okay, here we are. Putting it on full screen. Here we go. All right, so we're looking at an instructional rubric. It can be a 1 or 2 page document, depends on your level. It gives them feedback about their progress. A lot of this is just reiterating and concretizing what I just said. List of criteria and graduations of quality. Why do we want to use them? It's easy to use and explain. It makes sense. It's concise, it's digestible. So even after the Zoom class that you may have had or whatever platform you're using, remember that the student and whoever the tutor, the parent, the caregiver that's helping the child along with the child can go through it instead of in the night they're wondering, I don't understand what Miss said or Sir said. It makes your expectation pretty clear. And so it allows students to have informative feedback about strengths and weakness when you give them back. So you will see, they will know that, oh, this is why I got 3 because I missed out this particular thing. It supports learning, development of skills, and that's what STEM is about, and the development of understanding, good thinking. That is what we are trying to put out here. So some basics on how to make one. You look at models, figure out what makes excellent work and what makes poor work, and make sure the students know. So if you're coloring, and we'll look at one that I found one for coloring. You look at this doesn't, it's out of the line, it's out of the drawing, so they will get 3. No, only one color used, they may get 2. Make it clear what is it that you want. List the criteria. Then you pack and unpack them. So you list them and then you start to pick at them according to your 5 points or your 3 points or your 1 point. It then will articulate levels of quality. Try using yes, yes, but no, or but and no. I think they're promoting it that way. We don't just say nothing. Say no so-and-so was done or something like that. Create a draft rubric, revise the draft, and see if it suits your level, the objectives of your lesson, and the skills you wish to have developed. That one is a bit small for you to see, so I pulled up some other samples. How does it support thinking and learning? So remember, I said one of the things I loved about it, and I saw it tangibly in my classroom until I started to use it even with adults that I lecture, is that the students are able to critique their own work. So they're able to look, if they get 3, they know why they got 3 instead of 4. And they're able, I hear them say, watch out next time, I'm going to get 4. I'm going to make sure I did this. Or I thought I did it that well, but the next criteria tells you why it wasn't done so well. And so students can identify material in their work that demonstrates the criteria. There's no more, is it that I didn't hear well, or does Miss like me, sir? What is going on? Why didn't I? It's clear. It encourages self-assessment in other instances, even when they don't have a rubric. I would have heard students start to mull over in their minds, and I'm talking about children. I don't teach the small children, but I have friends who have them, and you hear them sitting, arguing with each other as siblings. Remember the last time you didn't get that because you should have done so and so. They remember, they remember. So even if you didn't use a rubric for another piece, they're learning to assess their own work before they hand it in. It has a positive effect on their, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. A number of folks are saying that it's looking blurry. Are you perhaps zoomed up on this? I'm wondering if there's another way to.
Oh, I don't know how to get it bigger. Maybe because it's a Prezi and it's online, so it's probably streaming slowly.
It's possible. I've turned off your camera to try to, decrease bandwidth issues, perhaps. But
is it helping? If not
terribly, unfortunately.
Okay. If not, that they'll get the link.
That would be wonderful, please.
Yeah, so they can look at it. All right. I'll make sure to provide that link by itself. All right. So, because I'm just reading, it's just notes really. And we're soon done with just this particular part. So I'm reading from it. So if you can't see it, you can hear what I'm actually reading from it. The rubrics on it were small, so I pulled up bigger ones at the end of my presentation. So worry not. All right. So you're actually encouraged to include them sometimes to design the rubrics. Yeah. What is it do you think we want done here, children? And they can help you design a simple rubric, which is even just 3 parts. So it makes it so exciting for them and for you and the learning process. These are pretty small, so I'm not gonna go through these. So I'm gonna be coming out of this and go back in our presentation. So what I did was in the PowerPoint, because I realized the Prezi rubrics were a bit small for real. So I'm gonna to talk about how is it that we're using this to help our parents. So a part of STEM can work, although we're at home, colleagues. We can engage them in models all the same. And if you have the rubric, then they have it beside them to help them to make that model. It can help them to develop skills all the same, although we're online, or they may be online and coming in. Multimedia assignments are very useful, and in order to assess these, rubrics are best. So if you can have them video an experiment that they did. They may be too young to write about the experiment. So a parent, a friend, you'd be surprised some of the little ones can set up their own camera and do their little experiments. Audio, images, we have e-magazines. And how do we assess these things? So rubrics can be used for all of these engaging classes. Forum discussions, depending on the platform you have, there may be a little area where you put a question. This is happening, what do you think? And have them go in and put their ideas. Now, some will say, this is not graded. I don't need to do this. That used to happen to me until I came up with a discussion rubric. So I will say, for this topic, I will have 3 discussion questions. So of course you get maximum for answering 3, then you get 2, then 1. Let's hope not 0. The quality of your answer. And thirdly, I will ask, did you engage anyone else? So I always say to them, respond to someone else's answer in the forum. So you have 3 areas that, so you get them talking to, and, like they're in the classroom. It's like group work, but online. So it is possible. This mission is possible. So we use a simple rubric for that. Teamwork rocks. Teamwork rubric. They know how to call each other to get the work done, to put something together, depending on what they're doing and the age group. So if you have a group that's doing a teamwork to ensure that everybody does something, I will share with you my rubric. Remember, you can modify your own. Many of my rubrics are about 3 rubrics I took and pick pieces out of it and then throw in my own flair. I'll show you those soon. So parents would love to have this. I've spoken to them. They really want to know, other than the work the child gets in a book that can be ticked, when they get something tangible to do, how do they know their child is doing the best thing, the right thing? So we have to understand, as I said at the beginning, that they need help. They need help because they're not with us to touch them and say, no, fix it this way, do it this way. We walk around and we guide them through and we'll say, I'll see you tomorrow. And tomorrow they'll ask you about the work that they're working on. Sometimes it's difficult online. Parents would love this. Clear guidelines, especially if it's a skill. They're going crazy. Some schools are doing an excellent job. And so I'm encouraging it simple, specific. That's where we get success. Here is one I found. It's a bit fuzzy, so I brightened up one side. Early childhood rubric for child and parent guardian. So their name, and they use stars. It's a bit fuzzy because I think I pulled it from a site that the image was pretty small, but don't worry. So there are 1 stars, 2 stars, 3, and then 4. Notice, depending on how well the child writes their name, they get how many stars. They get a particular amount of stars. A picture. As the picture develops, you get more stars. And you post this really big, you know. You can post it in the classroom. This can be something sent to parents. So if they are now this week, they're learning to write their name, they will know, how is it that I only got 3 stars, but I wrote Robert? Yes, but you didn't put the rest in common letters. Coloring. I'm doing coloring this week. These are the skills for the term. Why is it I got 2 stars out of 4? But look at number 2 flower, and look at the flower that got 4 stars. And they have this from, you know, the get-go. Writing. But I can play, but it's spelled a bit wrong. But if you write the sentence correctly, you get 4 stars. These are online. Some of them you have to pay for, or you can just glance at a preview and create your own. This was a preview, hence why it was paid, because it was really meant for purchase. Drawing a picture. I looked for this one because of the situation I was in, trying to help my friend who couldn't understand why her daughter could not get full marks for drawing and coloring. But this rubric said, colored completely, colored in lines, draw in the background. Maybe you wouldn't want that, but you do your thing. Draw with detail. And there are images that shows, because a small child probably couldn't read the words, but they can look at the pictures and look to see which of these pictures look like mine. Oh, mine doesn't look like it's colored so well as that one. So this way, the small child and the parent is able to keep track of their work. Models are great, great. Now, if we're gonna be asking that students make models of something at home, I want us to be aware of resources available in the typical home of your students and any unusual case. So I've had to move from where I'm just picking examples out of a text. I have to think. I'm rolling something to measure if I make the ramp higher or lower, which one will it roll down on faster. There's no ramp at home. I had to decide to tell the children, get a big book, or divide a book, get something, a box, something. You have to think. So as we are working through this, we have to modify our assessments. What is it we're going to ask them to work with? Modify your descriptors to look at, does it represent the actual item? So yes, it's a ramp, it's something that's there and it can roll off, but it's not the wooden ramp you would get in the science lab. Is it something that they're gonna have to move around with? Is it stable? So a child may only be able to afford fudge sticks and straws, but another one could find bits of wood. So the one with the fudge stick and straw shouldn't lose mark if they still do their work and it's not collapsing. And they will know that. Just make sure it's glued properly so they won't feel intimidated by the fact that this other person is showing up their show and tell on Zoom. You know, got a carpenter to build theirs, or dad built it. You use what you have as long as it can work. Well, which is what I'm saying here, ability to work. Can we get some kind of data from the model? We're dealing with science and engineering. I believe we must move away from stationary things that sit on a thing on a shelf. Something must work to some degree. We keep it simple, specific, and it will be successful. So those are ideas that you could have used to create a rubric, and you can create a 1, 2, 3, 4 based on your needs. If it's children, you can take pictures of what the actual thing should look like and, you know, play with it. Take pictures and insert them into the boxes of ones that not made so nice and some that are done well. What I do with my students is, over the years, I take pictures of students' work. I take the best, the ones that are really in need of some work, and those in the middle, kind of intermediate. And then I give them an assignment. I say, look at these. This is that. This was missing from this. This was missing from this. And so they have an idea. No, we have to put it in the rubric. Insert the pictures. Other type of rubrics: teamwork, oral presentation, participation in class. So I did that with my Zoom class, just them sharing and answering questions in class, because some will not answer. So you have a tiny little rubric just for participate. Did I participate 2 times? Did I participate? Did I volunteer? You know, something. Come up with some nice, simple markers for your things. This is my teamwork rubric, but I modified based on space and age and task. So I just picked one of the general ones. Contributions, solving problem, focusing on the task, working with others. Depending on the age group or the task, I play around with the words, but this is an example of one I used since COVID, but I have bigger kids, I have third formers, but I had one that's much simpler. I don't know, I can't find it, but it emerged from this anyhow. All right, so contributions, are they sharing, are they problem solving, are they focusing, working with others? It doesn't even have to be 4 categories. Modify, but these are very good templates to build on. And the parents and whoever is working with them, they know what is it they're supposed to be doing. This is pretty small. Try to get it as big as possible. Video, again, this is for high school. You can break it down or you can upgrade it. So if they're doing a little video of something they did, what's the content? You can simplify the terminology. It's creative. Creativity cannot just be subjective. You have to be specific. Capture the audience attention. You have to put something in there specifically. Specific, simple but specific, so they know what to mean by creativity. So you're not biased by the fact that you like how this one speaks versus that. Put something specific. The material, it depends on what you ask them to use. So you would change up that for your purpose. Speaking skills, you know, have you taught them that they must face the camera or face you and speak, you know, well, and speak out and look at the camera? You're teaching them presentation skills, you know, and, you know, speaking length of the presentation. Remember, these you modify. This came together from about 3 different rubrics. So it's
Kirby, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Folks can't really see. I don't know why, but the resolution is really poor, and we can't make any sense out of the words.
For this one, for the video one.
For the screen that you're sharing.
Yeah.
So you know, if you like, you might want to tell us what the titles of the columns are, but just be aware that for some reason we're not able to read it.
Clearly. Oh, okay. All right. So online discussion, I'll just tell you what the columns read. So quality of the information. So you say things like, you know, does the information really relate to the topic? Does it have any additional example? For critical thinking, that's another column. You know, do you see critical thinking process in their answers, in their discussion? Are they asking something else or adding to your thing? Just participating, you get scores. You know, did you participate in all 4, all 3, or only 2 out of the 4? And the participation time. So you're encouraging students to, after the class, go and look in the discussion. So you give them marks like within 24 hours, within 2 days, within 4 days, you know, stuff like that. We can think of as we go by. All right. So what I can do also, Rebecca, is I can just give you the PowerPoint. Possibly you can put it in, I don't know, we're live on Facebook, but it can be made.
Yes, if you would go ahead and email it to me, we'll definitely make sure it gets posted on the website.
Yes, excellent. I also put it in notes form so that it can be converted to Spanish. So I have it as notes.
Thank you. Great, thank you. Well, so yeah, so I'm sorry we weren't able to see some of the slides, but I think you've really made the point, the value of having rubrics in order to make parents and students' expectations, to make teachers' expectations clear to parents and to students, and also making sure that those rubrics are accessible to even the youngest of learners. I think that's a very frankly, a little bit revolutionary idea, because I don't think I have seen many examples like that.
Yeah. And they have STEM ones online too, you know, STEM early childhood rubrics.
All right, would you like us to pause to take a few minutes, take a few questions?
Yes, remember, put them in the Q&A.
Yeah, so if any of our attendees have any questions for Ms. Kirby before we move on to Mrs. Hylton, now would be the time to ask.
Or add if you have anything, like you had an experience, you want to say yes.
Absolutely. I'm not seeing any questions yet. If you like, we can, and Lynette McLean says crystal clear. So if you like, Ms. Kirby, we could just move on to Mrs. Hylton, and I'm sure some questions will pop up for the both of you by the end. Does that seem okay?
No problem.
All right. Okay, so next we'll have Mrs. Hylton, who is has previously been a school counselor and an educator, and now is a counseling psychologist. And we look forward to hearing what you have to share with us.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Megan Hylton, as you just heard. Just want to make a slight correction. I'm still a school counselor in the island of Jamaica, but I'm also a licensed associate counseling psychologist. My task today is basically for us to look at the importance of getting parents on board in terms of the STEM mission and how parenting looks when we are parenting the STEM child the right way, all right? So I encourage you to just work with me as we look at this together. I'm about to share my screen. Okay, so we want to look at STEM parenting. Now, with the current pandemic, many of us as educators and parents, we can recall the kind of whirlwind response we had a few months ago when parents were thrown into this frenzy of having the children at home, getting work sent by the teachers. And there were so many videos on social media where parents were basically saying, we can't do this, this is too much. And I was very busy during that time, still busy, because parents were crying out for help and we had to do quite a bit. So this presentation really is focusing on two things. What does parenting the STEM child look like, and how can educators create or facilitate a partnership between school and home to ensure that we get the learning outcomes that we want to see. Now, to lay the foundation, we need to understand that the home is the first learning environment that any child will come into. Parents are actually their first teachers. This is where they learn the basics of interaction, of life and everything. But what happens is that as they get older, many parents tend to turn over the bulk of the learning to school, when in fact the ideal situation should be that the partnership should continue, because parents have great influence on their children. If the parents are not on board with whatever the school is doing, then there is going to be a limitation in terms of how successful we are. Now, in terms of psychology of learning, the fact is, learning does not take place in a vacuum. There are different aspects to it. We have to have a holistic approach. The school, the home, the society, everything has to come together for effective learning to take place. And so it has been proven that children who have greater parental support usually perform better academically. Not only that, but they apply themselves more to what they are being taught if the parents are on board. Educational institutions that master the art of partnering with their parents also have better results. All right. So with this new thrust with STEM, we cannot ignore the value that parents bring to the table. If they are stuck at thinking that learning is just about the teacher and the child, then we will not accomplish our mission. So let's look at parenting in context, in the whole STEM context. Children are STEM ready. And what do I mean by that? Children are naturally curious. They want to learn new things. They ask a lot of questions, and sometimes parents will get flustered and say, hey, why are you asking so many questions? Especially in the earlier stages of life, like around 6 to 8 years old, they're asking a myriad of questions. They are very observant and they like to make things. Children love to do experiments. I remember once I can share, I wanted to wash my hair and I could not find any shampoo. I know I had shampoo, but at that point there was none. And I discovered that one of my children was doing an experiment, mixing shampoo with something else in the bathroom to see what would happen. Right? So they are curious and they like to try new things. All of this is a good foundation for STEM in terms of getting them to look at science, technology, engineering, math, getting a mix of everything, seeing learning as a lifelong experience that can happen anywhere. All right? And so since we have this foundation, we need to get our parents to understand that they can build on this. While the teachers are working, parents can build on the foundation that we get when we have our children. And I want to look at a few of those. How do we create STEM thinkers? And this is in the context of the home. I know there are many teachers online, but I'm sure some of you are also parents, and you can use these points to win your parents over to the STEM way of thinking. So the first one is they must maximize learning opportunities. There are many, many learning opportunities at home. You can have discussions with your children about natural things that happen around them. You can watch videos with them, documentaries, and then you discuss what they just watched. Remember I said they are curious. So depending on their age, you would be watching things that are relevant to them and use that as a basis of discussion. Encourage curiosity, questioning, and research. Now, years ago, when a child asked a parent or a guardian a question, they would probably just answer, right? Mommy, why do some clouds look gray and some are white? And well, I wouldn't be able to answer that straight off the bat. But if you know, you probably would just tell them the answer. What I'm saying now, depending on the age of the child, instead of just providing answers, you send them to research it and come back and tell you what they found out. Or you go along and research with them. So it becomes a partnership. You're learning, you're discovering together. The next one is that the home should be a STEM-friendly home. What do I mean by that? If you have a child that loves science, that loves to do experiments, just like this father on the screen right now, you create a space at home, if you have the space, for the child to know that this is okay, this is my little experiment area, this is where I come to try something, of course with the parents' supervision if they are very young. And you buy material, you don't throw away things, right? Don't just throw away things, because sometimes the things that we throw out can be used by the child in their learning experience, all right? So like even the center of the tissue, that cardboard part there, can be used to create things. The child may use it to create different items on their own. We want to encourage creativity, facilitate teamwork, and cooperation. So this is a part of STEM as far as I know, collaboration where they learn to work as a team. If you have more than one child at home, instead of having them compete against each other, you can, in fact, have them working on something together. Being in quarantine or being at home, the children tend to want to run to the technology a lot. And that's good, and it's also bad, because research has shown that too much time, too much screen time can actually slow down the development and the function of the brain. So teamwork here, let me give you an example. One of my children is particularly interested in animals, whether it's animals, insects, just living things. She's fascinated by them. And so earlier, I think it was yesterday, I said to my children, I have 3, I said to them, I want you to choose an animal or a living thing this week. You're going to research it, find out all you need to know, and then you're going to make a video. And they were excited, but they thought I meant that each person had to do it on their own. I said, no, I want this to be teamwork. So now they are coming up with who is going to do what part and how they are going to put it together. All right? Having said that, you must find your child's, what I call, sweet spot when it comes to STEM. Where is their passion, or where is their strength? What is the thing that grabs their attention? And then you want to facilitate growth in that area. So you provide the things they need, you have the discussions, you answer their questions. All right? Don't laugh at them because the area that they are passionate about, you may think it's not important. All right? The parents also need to be curious too. So it's a learning experience. I mean, during the time when Jamaica was my parish in Jamaica was under lockdown, I learned so many things because I had to go and read, and so I could keep up with them. I had to research so that I could encourage them to research. So you're getting the parents to jump on board and begin to experience learning for themselves also. All right? And I mentioned already, partnering with teachers and school, very critical. Parents need to know. And if there are parents online, I'm saying to you, you must be aware of what your child's teacher is doing, what is the mission of the school, where is it that they're trying to take your child, what are the goals, so that you are working with them to achieve those. Now, some simple ideas for parents, that STEM ideas, I call them, simple things we can do at home. And these are really that parents can do on their own to get the children to start to think widely, to see learning as an everyday experience, to realize that they can learn and they can create. They have that ability to create things. So the first one is a backyard garden. You can start with your children, have them create that garden, decide what they're going to plant, be responsible for caring for it, watching and seeing as the things begin to bear fruit. Children are excited about those things. You can create a nature space, an area in the yard where you plant flowers, and then eventually you will see different living creatures coming around and they can observe, write what they see, and all of those things. R&R, which I mentioned earlier, has to do with research and report, okay? And this will not only help their researching skills, but also their writing skills. And you can have them do oral reports. And it doesn't have to be, it's not that you're turning home into a rigid school system, but you're ensuring that the skills they need for life are being built up within the home environment. Outdoor games, treasure hunt, and it's not the typical treasure hunt. I was doing some research and I saw one where you could give the children specific things to find, a particular kind of rock or a green leaf that is shaped a particular way, or how many living things can you find on the left side of the property versus the right. So you're engaging them with all the subject areas. Problem solvers challenge. I believe STEM has to do also with solving problems, right? And we have to encourage our children to think solution, to think solution, to think critically. Many times we give them the answer too quickly, but we must teach them how to solve problems. So they may come to you with an issue and you say to them, all right, let us think about how we can solve this problem. Who can come up with a solution? So when they get the actual learning assessment kind of paper where they have to be thinking critically, you would have already been training your children how to think and how to solve problems. We know the typical indoor games like Monopoly, chess, Scrabble. Many children don't play these anymore because we are thinking, okay, they have the tablets and they go and play their games. But these are also they are online now. But I find that not only do these games help them to think critically, it helps with math, it helps with reasoning. Research has shown that children who do well in chess also do well in mathematics. And they are also teaching the children how to be resilient. So they know that sometimes they're going to face challenges. Do I give up or do I keep trying? So you are teaching them life skills as they go along. And then I have family activities like meal planning, budgeting. Would you trust your children to do a budget, right? How about giving them some money for the month and telling them to write and show you how they would plan to use that money, okay? Meal planning, children tend to complain sometimes, I'm getting this all the time. Put it at their feet, create a meal plan for the week, come to daddy and mommy with it, and let us talk about it. So you're training them how to think outside the box. Finally, I want to share, how do educators now facilitate the school-home partnership? How do we get the parents to be on board with us in this STEM mission? First of all, we have to know, what do the parents need to know? So you could create a needs assessment in terms of STEM, a little questionnaire to find out, do they understand what it means, what aspect of it, do they know, have they ever heard of STEM? Have they ever been to a workshop? From the needs assessment, then you can have virtual sessions with the parents where you're teaching them now what STEM is and you're targeting the areas that you would have picked up in your needs assessment. Thirdly, create a STEM guide for parents based on the grade level, something that they can have at their disposal to remind them of what you would have said in the virtual sessions, and then you distribute that to your parents. Now, most of us have to be using virtual methods. So you could do an electronic flyer and you send that out to the parents in the grade so that it is relevant to them. And then you organize a resource team consisting of parents and teachers from the grade who can be there to provide some guidance to parents who may feel like they are lost. In essence, what are we saying? Parents are a critical part of the learning experience and the success that will come from it. This picture says, tomorrow begins today. And I love that thought because, believe it or not, your child's tomorrow may depend on what you do today. And that thought is one of the primary thoughts behind the book that our host mentioned earlier, which I just want to mention as I wrap up. Directing your arrows. The basis of it is that parents must get into this thing called parenting. We cannot parent from a distance. We can't parent from a distance. We have to jump in, connect with our child, be there with them so that we are directing them like arrows, positioning them so that they can achieve what they were born to achieve and become their best self. So the book is available on Amazon, and it is also available in Jamaica. Persons in Jamaica can reach out to me for their copy. And from that, what has happened now is that I'm now also working with parents, especially during this pandemic, just to be a parent coach and a support to help them to get to where they need to reach in terms of bonding with their children and positioning them for success. So this afternoon, I want to end with, all right, so if you're interested in the mentorship, you can just send an email to the email address on your screen and we will take it from there. But remember, tomorrow begins today. What we do today with our children will impact what they become tomorrow. And so I encourage us as parents and educators to see our role as critical in helping our children to be ready for life by being ready in terms of STEM thinking. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Hylton. I think those are some final inspiring words, so much appreciated. All right, so as we close out here, we've got a little bit of time for some questions, and I saw that some questions did come in for Ms. Kirby in regards to rubrics, first of all. Is there anything that you'd like to add verbally to those, to your answers to those questions? I know you responded by text, but I'm not sure if everybody saw them.
Yes, so I was just reiterating, with regards to experiments, what I did was I'd have them take a picture of what they're doing. I would also have to make suggestions as to alternative materials to use for the experiment and give room for that. And then I target the skills. Did you get that data? Did you repeat the experiment at least 3 times? And that's where I create the rubric. You know, not about what it is that you use, but how you use it and the quality of the data. Some I could not get a numerical reading, and so I had to ask for trends. Did this go faster than this? Because some did not have whatever equipment to measure the length, or you know, and so they had an area where they could do discussion and say why this one rule. I was doing forces. Why this one rule quicker than, I think I was doing kinetic energy and potential, right? So in essence, I had to create a rubric just to for the students to be able to observe trends, because they can't always get numbers. But it got them a chance to learn how to convert data, because they learned that a teaspoon, that's 5 milliliters, how to convert to liters, inches to meters. So it gave them an opportunity to see really science literally in their homes.
Great, thank you. So yes, I believe that was in reference to a question about how do you apply rubrics to lab practicals, right? Which is sometimes a little bit more complicated than just final products necessarily. So thank you for that. Does anybody have any questions for Mrs. Hylton and parenting? Here's a question that I've actually gotten. I'd love to hear a response on this one from Ms. Hylton. How do I refocus my child? It's all about his tablet. Is addiction a problem? Is addiction to digital tools right now a problem?
Yes, it is a problem, unfortunately. The first thing, it depends on the age of the child, how you go about this. But I have found that if the child does not have the tablet, they are forced to go into creativity mode. all right? So I would want to suggest that sometimes you literally take the tablet and allow them to find other ways of entertaining themselves. All right, it's amazing what they will come up with when you put that option there of removing the tablet. If the child is old enough to have a discussion, what you can do is to let them know that the tablet is not just about entertainment, but you can actually learn new things. So again, you're pulling on their passion. What is it that they're excited about? What is it that they love? And you begin to show them how the tablet can feed into that passion. But to be honest, as parents, sometimes we just have to call a spade a spade. So I have days at home where I say it's a no tablet day, okay? There are times now when I say to them, when you wake up in the morning, you don't go to the tablet first. So you have to find ways to create other avenues for them, to put boundaries in place. Because as a counselor, I can say, parents, if you allow that addiction to start in the pre-teen years, you have a mountain to climb in the teen years, all right? So you have to teach them from early how to manage this resource. So it's a good resource, but anything that is overused can cause harm. So put other things in the home. I have board games. I have, maybe those who are not from Jamaica don't know, there's a game called Jacks, where they have to throw items on the ground and pick them up in groups, like groups of 2, 4, 5, until they get everything in one set. So they are learning sets from that. And I bought it and taught them and put it down. What I find happening now is that they will use the tablet sometimes and then they run to one of these other games. But the bottom line is, if you pull the technology sometimes, they go into creativity mode, they go outside and play, or they come up with something on their own. And we want that to happen, but we have to manage the technology. It's a must.
Great, thank you. All right, I'm seeing some additional questions come in. Please make sure you post them in the Q&A so we don't accidentally miss them. There's a question here about, can you repost the email address for coaching and mentorship? I'm sorry, I don't know which of you that was in reference to.
Okay, that would be mine. I will type it in the Q&A section right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that would be great. And then kind of the opposite question compared to what was just given. How do you engage a child who has problems learning online? For example, a child who cannot stay focused on anything for too long.
Okay. For that child now, we have to be able to, online, let me put it this way, online learning was a big shift for many children. And so my suggestion to the educators, first of all, was that you have more regular breaks, okay? You have more regular breaks. If the child can't focus and is not receiving what is learned online, then the onus is on the parent to connect with the teacher, try to get the information that the teacher is trying to pass on, and then give that back to the child in another format. Because as teachers, we know children learn different ways, all right? So your child may not be able to sit for 1 hour and listen to a teacher, but if you know they are doing living things and you find a video on YouTube and show him afterwards and discuss it, he may get the same concept, he may understand. But I honestly think we should not be pressuring a child to sit around a screen for a long time. So as educators, we have to know what we're doing basically. For the younger kids, 20 minutes, they get a break. You say to them, 20 minutes on the screen, they sign out, go and do some written work, or they get a break, they come back, it might be discussion. So a child doesn't need to be having lecture style teaching for 4 hours per day. That's too much.
Thank you, Mrs. Hylton. And I think the last question we'll ask is for Ms. Kirby. How do you get parents who are not technically as savvy as the child on the same level in order to help children? Because when homework is given out, there are parents who are unable to help children because of educational barriers or learning challenges.
That is true. And I mean, I know it surprised us, you know, in the initial stage, but as we're planning way forward, I do believe that there ought to be training sessions for parents who are in need of this help. So I noticed Megan had mentioned even, I think it was a manual, a book, something had said to present to the parents as one. And
Yes.
get them on board with what's happening. And I believe along with providing that material, that just as you have a PTA session, you have a training session and they're able to come on, ask them to have their phones and their laptop or whatever available. And because I've trained person to use Zoom on Zoom. Do you get what I mean? So whatever platform you have, you can teach the parent to share screen, do something to teach. You have to have some sessions. But whether it's webinar, I would prefer you keep a regular Zoom gathering because then you can see their faces and work with the parent. Because you won't get everybody. Some can help themselves. So hopefully it won't be too overwhelming and you can, or you break it up in class sets, 10 parents, you know, something. But offer that along with that manual that Megan was suggesting.
Great, thank you so much. And just to add to that, yes, I've actually heard from a number of our, especially our early childhood teacher fellows within I-10, that they've specifically had like sensitization kinds of meetings just for the parents, not necessarily one-on-one, but as groups, so that they can understand that the teacher's a resource for them as well as for their children. And building that relationship, of course, is a little bit harder right now. So.
Excellent. Excellent.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Kirby and Mrs. Hylton. I really appreciate your contributions. I'm going to put up our final slide for tonight. For those of you who would like to see the slides, if Ms. Kirby and Mrs. Hylton, if you can send those to me, then I can get those posted. They'll be posted within 24 hours along with the video recording on I-10's website, oas.org/en/I-10. And I also invite all of you to check out additional resources. There are some that are available in English also through the OAS Educational Portal of the Americas. And so I welcome you to also check that out. Thank you so much. Ms. Kirby, Mrs. Hylton, do you have anything else you'd like to say before we close?
Good.
Just want to encourage educators. I know I've been a teacher, and parents can rub us the wrong way sometimes, but just want to encourage you to understand that they're very, very, very stretched right now. I know teachers are stretched too, but in a case like this, we just need to exercise self-care and then be there for others. All right? Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Great. All right. Well, I think we're done for the evening. I welcome everybody to come back to more of our webinars. We'll have 3 more sessions from Jamaica on the 31st, the 1st of September and the 2nd of September, featuring blended learning for STEM education. So please join us. Other than that, have a wonderful evening and thank you so much.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.
Thank you.